Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Monarch deck profile. And wait, there's something wrong there. Oh wait, yeah, we don't use XZs in this. Maybe, Link Monsters? Yeah, we can always summon Link Monsters. No, we don't need that either. That's the wrong extra deck. No, we Fusion in this, don't we? Yeah, oh, wait, no, that's for dragons. Oh yeah, Synchro. We Synchro because there's a bunch of little ones. Oh wait, we don't need an extra deck in this deck. Absolutely. This deck is actually crazy because it is the one deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Besides True Draco that just doesn't need an extra deck, which is absolutely crazy. Literally, you play 0 cards in your extra deck. It is mandatory in this deck to play 0 cards in the entire extra deck, which is really crazy about this deck. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, where you have all those awesome rewards you guys like, getting your name searched for a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Erebus, the Underworld Monarch. So Erebus is a really, really good card that has the ability that you can tribute summon this card using 1 tribute summoned monster. And if this card is tribute summoned, you get to send 2 Monarch spells or traps from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And then it has the ability, if you do, you could shuffle a card from your opponent's hand, field, or graveyard into the deck, which is really good. And if it's in your graveyard, then if this card is in your graveyard, you can discard 1 Monarch spell or trap to target 1 monster in your graveyard that has 2400 or more attack and 1000 defense, and add that card back to your hand, which is a really good effect, which is kind of why he's the Underworld Monarch, or the Monarch of the Graveyard. We then play his counterpart, which is 3 copies of Ether, the Heavenly Monarch. Ether is really good because it has the ability to tribute summon this card by tribute summoning 1 tribute summoned monster. And if this card is tribute summoned, you get to send 2 Monarch spells or traps with different names from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And if you can special summon a Monarch, or basically a Monarch, monster with 2400 more attack and 1000 defense from your deck to your side of the field, but return it to your hand during the end phase. So it's a very good way of actually searching because you're building a field as well with Ether. It also has the ability that during your opponent's main phase, if this card is in your hand, you can manage a Monarch spells or trap from your graveyard to immediately, if this card resolves, tribute summon this card, and that is a quick effect as well. We then play 2 copies of Kris, the Light Monarch. Kris is pretty good in the deck too, because this card, when it's normal or special summon, you get to target up to 2 cards on the field and destroy those targets. And for each card that's destroyed, the player of the card that was controlled by the destruction gets to draw a card. So for example, if you target 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field and you destroy them, then they get to draw 2, but if you target 2 of your cards, then you get to draw 2. But this card has the ability, this card cannot attack during the turn it was normal or special summon, which kind of sucks, but it's still a really good card to pop 2 cards on the field. We then play 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend I bumped up to 2 in this build because Vanity's Fiend just kind of locks your opponent down, which is what's really amazing about this card, because you can just immediately normal summon this card out to your side of the field by tributing a card on your side of the field, and then neither player can special summon. This card literally locks the entire game down, which is amazing and is why one of the best cards in the entire deck, and he's a part of Team Long Hair Don't Care, just like me. We then play a single copy of Majesty's Fiend as well. Majesty's Fiend is the same as Vanity's Fiend. It's also a member of Team Long Hair Don't Care, and actually what it does is it can be special summon, or cannot be special summon, and monster effects cannot be activated at all. It's probably one of the shortest card texts in the game, but it just basically says you can't activate monster effects. It's really good. We then play a same copy of Mithril, the Thunder Vassal. Mithril is a good 1-of to me. I really like this card as a 1-of in the deck. I've considered playing it as a 2-of, and I've played around with 2 of them before in a build, but I just feel like 1 is fine because it has the ability, if this card is in your hand, you can write the effect that you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, and then also you special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, you special summon a Vassal token that's 800 attack, 1000 defense, level 1 to your opponent's side of the field, and then also has the ability that if this card is tributed for the tribute summon, you can activate the effect to be able to tribute summon 1 monster during your main phase this turn, in addition to your normal summoner set. So you can basically summon out a Kris, pop 2, draw 2 on your side, and then be able to tribute the Mithril and be able to summon out a copy of, say, Ether, and then Ether's effect will trigger and be able to special summon Erebus from the deck, or your Majesty's Fiend, which is pretty good. The only thing that I have to mention, guys, is the only downside to playing Vanity's Fiend is it has 1200 defense, which kind of locks it out of being able to be used as a total Monarch card, but it's still really, really good in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Duelist, the Underworld Squire. This card is pretty good too because it has the ability to give you an additional normal summon Because during your main phase, this turn, you can tribute summon one monster in addition to your normal summoner set. And then also you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense in your graveyard, except another copy of itself, and special summon it in defense position. But you can't special summon monster from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, but that's not that big of a deal because we're never going to do that anyways. We then play 3 copies of Ida, the Heavenly Squire. Heavenly Squire is just really, really good because when it's normal or special summoned, you get to special summon a level, you can special summon a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense, which is either of these from your deck, which is always going to be the Underworld Squire anyways. And then it has the ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you could target one of your banished Monarch spells or traps and add it back to your hand, which works really well with Pantheism, I have to say. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of 1-for-1 because it helps you dig into the deck to get your copy of the Heavenly Squire onto your side of the field as quickly as possible. You play a single copy of Foolish Barrel because it just helps you get your monsters to the graveyard quicker and be able to go off with a bunch of plays, like using your copy of your copy of the Underworld Squire, sending an act to the graveyard to be able to banish it, special summon out your copy of Heavenly Squire, and then being able to send Heavenly Squire to grab back a copy of, say, for example, a copy of Pantheism, or using your copy of your Erebus to be able to get back a copy of a Monarch from the graveyard. There's just a lot of ways to be able to use this card in this deck. We then play a single copy of March. March is pretty good because a tribute summon monsters cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and you can't special summon from the extra deck. 2 copies of Return to the Monarchs. This card is very simplistic. Basically what it does is you can't special summon from the extra deck and it lets you add cards from deck to hand. So for example, if you tribute summon, you can activate one of these effects to add from your deck to your hand. Or whenever you tribute summon, you get to either add from your deck to your hand one monster with 2400 attack or 1000 defense with a different name than tribute summon monster, or add from your deck to your hand one monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense with a different name from the tribute summon monster, and the tribute summon monster must be faced on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So basically, if you tribute summon, you get to add from deck to hand, which is really good. 3 copies of Tenacity of the Monarchs. This card is the best searcher in the entire, one of the best searchers in the entire game. You just reveal a monster in your hand that has 2400 attack and 1000 defense, or 2800 attack and 1000 defense. And you get to add a Monarch spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which then can be Pantheism, and Pantheism is bonkers. Pantheism has crazy effects. This card was limited for so long because it's so good and helps with the consistency of the deck, and is probably one of the best draw cards in the entire game. Now what it does is you send any Monarch spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard, and then you immediately draw 2. That sounds pretty good to me. And then it also has the ability that you can banish this card the same turn and reveal 3 Monarch spells or traps from your deck, and then your opponent randomly chooses one. Your opponent chooses one of them to add to your hand, and then you shuffle the rest back in the deck. So for example, if I activate this and then send from the hand to the graveyard the Prime Monarch, which I want in the graveyard, I then get to draw 2 cards, and if I don't draw a Tenacity out of any of those, I can then banish the copy of Pantheism and then reveal Tenacity, 3 Tenacities, and then add Tenacity from deck to hand, which then gives me another search of a Pantheism that I can use next turn, which is insanely good. We then play 3 copies of the Monarch Stormforth. Monarch Stormforth lets me use monsters my opponent controls as tribute material, which is really good. I really like this effect. We then play 3 copies of Domain, rounding out the spells. Domain is really good because while you have no cards in your extra deck, and you're the only player that controls a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. And if you tribute summon a monster you control attacks a monster your opponent controls, it gains 800 attack during the battle phase. So essentially, your 2400 attacks become 32, and your 32s, or not your 32s, but your 28s become 36, which is really good. And it also has the ability that once per turn, you can reduce the level of one monster with 2800 more attack, their 2800 and 1000 defense in your hand by 2, making it a level 6 to be able to tribute summon it out easier from your hand. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Escalation. Escalation lets you tribute summon during your opponent's main phase or battle phase, which is pretty good. 2 copies of the Prime Monarch. Prime Monarch lets you special summon it as a token to your side of the field or as a trap monster by banishing another Monarch spell or trap from the graveyard. And if it's on your field, you can target 2 Monarch spells or trap cards in your graveyard and shuffle them into the deck. And I just realized they actually wow, they actually, this is misprint. If you see that right there, it says once per turn, you can target 1 Monarch spell or trap card, but card is spelled C-R-A-R-D. What in the world? Hold on, let me autofocus that. That's really weird. You see that right there? right there. It says, once per turn, you can target 2 Monarch spells or trap cards, which I think that's kind of weird. I never noticed that. The whole time I've actually owned this deck, and I never noticed that these are actually misspelled. Oh my god, that's pretty cool. So then we play 2 copies of the Monarch's Erupt. The Monarch's Erupt is pretty cool because you can activate this card, and if you have no cards in your extra deck, and you control a Tribute Summon monster, negate the effects of all face-up monsters on the field except Tribute Summon monsters, which is really, really good just to be able to stop all monster effects on the field. This card is basically the lock. Like, the lock for me is getting out this, a copy of Domain, and a copy of Vanity's Fiend. That is pretty much the lock. If you get this out on the field, these 3, you've pretty much won the game. Because your opponent can't special summon, they can't special summon from extra deck, and they're negating all the monster effects that they have on the field, so they pretty much are playing old school dual monsters Yu-Gi-Oh! At that point at you, and you have a Red Eyes Black Dragon on the field. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. Oh wait, we don't have one. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, but definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and hit that bell there so you can come part of notification squad. And that's pretty crazy that that's actually misspelled. I never noticed that before. I really didn't. That's kind of crazy. So definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below as well, because we have all those awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name shirts for every single video, getting a side cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon, along with test hands. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.